anybody guess what I'm going to be talking about today? Alright, today I'm going to be talking about The Greatest Showman and why it's so important to me. So I'm going to start by saying that The Greatest Showman is not in any way, shape, or form a biopic. It is not historically accurate. If you want to read about P.T. Barnum's actual life, go read one of the dozens of biographies that were written about this man. P.T. Barnum was a pretty terrible guy who abused people who weren't like him, who were freaks. But this show is not about that. This movie is a fictional retelling of a wonderful story. Reason number one why Greatest Showman is important. It's bringing back the original Hollywood movie musical. Movie musicals used to be a huge thing in Hollywood. You used to have shows that weren't based on Broadway or plays. They were completely original, like Singing in the Rain. But in the last 20 years or so, we've somehow lost that magic. Sure, you've got your Rent, Chicago, Phantom of the Opera, Mamma Mia, Hairspray. All of those were based off of Broadway shows. The two major exceptions that I can think of are La La Land or Moulin Rouge. But the thing that makes Greatest Showman so important is that it's bringing audiences into the theaters and actually making as much money as other huge blockbusters this year. It's already doubled its budget in revenue, which is great. This movie musical was great because it was good for everybody. I got people to go see this show who would never go see a musical. They didn't go see Mamma Mia when it came out, and that movie had Meryl Streep. They went and saw this because it was different and also probably because it had Wolverine. Reason number two, the choreography.
6, 7, 8.
This was some of the most technical choreography I've ever attempted.
This choreography was beautiful and incredibly difficult for any kind of professional performer to do, let alone 49-year-old Hugh Jackman, who's been waiting on this project to be a thing since like 2009. Don't tell him I said that. Plus, the choreography conveys an emotion in every single scene. The joy or the defensiveness and frustration that we feel when we have to declare to the world that this is me. Reason number three, charity. Charity, like Eddie the Editing Bear, is perfect. All she wants is happiness for her children and her husband. She doesn't care if she's rich or poor. That lady is the best. And usually these characters are called Mary Sues. They bug people because they're too perfect. But somehow in this movie, it didn't bother anybody that Charity was perfect because she was the rock for P.T. Barnum to lean on.
This isn't the life I promised you. Not even close.
But I have everything I want.
Reason number four, Pasek and Paul. These guys are only 32 years old and they've already written multiple Broadway shows, including the Tony Award-winning Dear Evan Hansen. They won Oscars for La La Land. Their contributions have been huge to musicals, and they're making such a big impact, and we still don't even know their names. So make sure that you do. Pasek and Paul. They're the Rodgers and Hammerstein of our generation. Reason number five. Keala Settle is a godsend. Her role as Letty Lutz, the bearded lady, stole the show for me. Her story was arguably just as important as P.T. Barnum. As she said, even her own mother was ashamed of her, and still she went through all of that to overcome all of her fears of being called a freak and go out and perform for an audience multiple hours of every single day. Settle's voice is phenomenal. She's done Hairspray, she's done Les Mis, she originated the role of Becky in Waitress. It's just mind-blowing the things that she can do with her voice.
I don't claim to be proud, but my head won't be hung in shame. I didn't plan it, but the light turned red and I ran it, and I'm still standing. It's not what I wanted, but now that it's right here.
Reason number six, and my last reason for why this show is so important, is the inspirational messaging in and outside of this movie. Internally, this movie has a lot of great messaging because it's all about accepting who you are. If you're different, that's beautiful too. It's a rags to riches story. It shows that family is whoever you make it. It's about overcoming odds and not letting anybody tell you who you're supposed to be. The external messaging of this movie is just as impressive. Pasek and Paul were nobodies when they signed on to this project, and the director took a risk on them. They started this project in 2009, but didn't get Fox to greenlight it until like 2015. Hugh Jackman played a huge role in this. He had himself attached to the script the entire time. To hold on to a project for that long when you're doing so many other things, when you're being a part of X-Men, it just shows the dedication and how much this movie meant to him.
From now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. From now on, What's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. Starts tonight. Let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart.
Zendaya learned trapeze for this movie. Ow. She trusted, her and Zac Efron, trusted that they weren't gonna fall and hurt themselves in any way, even though they were 20, 30, 50 feet up in the air. And yeah, you're attached to a rig. But come on! They spent not even that much time, a few months maybe, learning an entire art. I have nothing but respect from that. The last person I'm going to touch on is the actor that plays Tom Thumb, Australian actor Sam Humphrey. He lives with a genetic disease that makes his life a lot more difficult, but more than that, he does everything with a smile.
I got to star alongside Hugh Jackman, which is my all-time favorite actor in the world. Be sure to go see it.
He's done a few things in Australia, but he came out of nowhere to come do this movie next to Hugh Jackman and be just as big as everybody else. Why am I talking about this movie? I'm writing a musical that I really want to be made into a movie. A movie because not everybody has access to the theater. Regional theater can be really far. Broadway is across the country from where I live, and it's cost prohibitive. It's $100 to go to a Broadway show, and that's for nosebleed seats. Anybody can afford to go see a movie musical. I love The Greatest Showman made an original movie musical because we can re-spark interest in musicals as a whole. We can access millions of people through this one movie. And most of all, it's new. It's new to everybody. You're not going to see a show that you've already seen at your local theater and thinking about how much better it is or worse than it is than that one performance you saw. It's completely new and different. I hope we're bringing back originality.